Justin Trudeau slammed by the Indian media as they host the G20 summit. Prime Minister Modi is hosting the G20 summit. He's going out of his way to exclude Trudeau and Macron, says Marty Up North on Twitter. This is because of how Trudeau and his family behaved during the last visit to India, and the fact that here at home, Trudeau has formed an alliance with Jugmeet Singh. And we're going to get into why that's contentious there in India. How will petty Justin react? Now, this speech, or he was giving a speech or being asked questions by the media in India at the time during the G20. And, well, this came up, and I love Justin's responses, his mechanical, robotic responses. You just gotta admire how awful this person is.
Sikh Khalistani militants in Canada, and the second is the question of interference in Canada by India, which has been cited by Canada's own intelligence agencies. Did neither of those topics come up?
No, they both came up over the years with Prime Minister Modi. We've had many conversations on both of those issues. Obviously, Canada will always defend freedom of expression, freedom of conscience, freedom of peaceful protest. That's something that's extremely important to us. At the same time as we're always there to prevent violence, to push back against hatred. I think on the issue of the community, it's important to remember that the actions of the few do not represent the entire community or Canada. The flip side of it, we also highlighted the importance of respecting the rule of law, and we did talk about foreign interference.
Sikh Khalistani.
So before we get into the response from the media, the Sikh Khalistani movement is a movement that's been happening since, I believe, the 1980s, and they've been basically pushed out of India entirely. This is a group of people who want to actually have their own government installed. They want to have a sovereign movement, and this is something that's been taking place in Canada. And in fact, there's been a lot of pushback against Jugmeet Singh, who has spoken at these events and been a supporter of the Khalistani movement, and of which, I mean, I don't know that much about, and I'm not here. I don't know, because it's a contentious issue, but he is in fervent support of this, to which he has actually been denied entry into India. In 2013, Singh was denied a visa into India for raising the issue of the 1984 Sikh massacre. He became the first Western legislator to be denied entry into India. Now, what is important to note about this, as Justin Trudeau was commenting about that, he obviously, during the Freedom Convoy, he declared he made the statements, and so did Jugmeet Singh, that the truckers wanted to form their own government and wanted to create their own thing, all of which was nonsense. The truckers actually just wanted to end the mandates. That's all they were there for. But they nonetheless made these declarations that they were trying to form their own government, which is actually what the Khalistani people are trying to do. And while this is some contention for India, and this is what the Indian news had to say about this whole situation and what he had to say at the G20.
Okay, so I'm going to now shed the diplomatics, because when something manifestly insane takes place in your face, there's no reason to be polite about it. Justin Trudeau has just shown you the finger when it comes to Khalistan. This man has just come after imposing an emergency in his country to crack down on the freedom of expression and the right to peaceful protest, and has just talked about the freedom of expression and the rule of law and the right to protest. Okay? Now, the truth is, Mr. Trudeau, like any good Punjabi, I have family in Canada, and I promise you, the nonsense that you're talking is emanating from sheer hubris, a total disconnected view of the world, where you think that we don't see what you're up to, we don't understand what you're up to, and you can continue behaving in a totally nonsensical fashion, talking nonsense You imposed an emergency in your country. Your father imposed an emergency in your country. Your democratic credentials are under deep question. And if Khalistan is a problem, and if a Khalistan is to be created, it is more likely it is going to be created within the territorial boundaries of Canada. And let me add to that, we should become, or at least I will, become the biggest proponent of the independence of Quebec, which has been trying to secede from Canada for the longest period of time. And I have a big question on why the map of Canada should not be described as Canadian occupied Quebec, COQ.
Well,
Perhaps we should issue a map of the world as well. Complete nonsense. You come out and spoken once again. You could have taken it seriously. You should have taken it seriously, but you didn't. Patikrit, this man, last time he came for a bilateral to India, showed up with a Khalistani in his entourage. What is going on? I mean, after a point, it's totally insane. You can't say it's domestic politics. You can't say he doesn't get it. You can't say that the emergency in Canada didn't happen. You were beating up truckers in Canada. You were freezing their bank accounts. I mean, what is this guy talking? Which world is he living in?
Rishabh, he's a perfect example of pseudo.
Just to say that maybe the Indians don't know the ins and outs of Quebecer separation and where Justin Trudeau's allegiances actually lie. He actually allies more with Quebec than the rest of Canada. Maybe this guy didn't know that, but just to give an illustration of what they think. Oh, okay. Well, how about we get involved in some contentious issue that's happening in your country as you've gotten involved in a contentious issue that's happened in their country. And of course, there was a big thing that happened in the 1980s where a lot of people died during this conflict with the Khalistani, I believe it's called, and the Indian government. I mean, I'm not taking any sides on this whole thing because I know that's a contentious issue that I don't know enough about. But at the same time, Justin Trudeau, our prime minister, is taking sides on that issue. And I don't think that should be in his purview to be doing in this absolute case, especially when he's showing up at the G20 and trying to represent Canadians, not some other groups. He's supposed to be representing Canadians. Now, this is a long video, and I'll leave a link in the description down below. You can check out some of the things that are said here. But I wanted to point out this part where this woman jumps in, and I mean, just can't. It's comical at this point.
He has come to Indian soil, knowing full well that there are exponents in his country who are waging war against the Indian state, and he's accused us of foreign interference.
But first of all, Rishabh, his wife has just divorced him. His popularity polls are very low. The chances are he is not going to be prime minister for long. We should not raise our blood pressure about this insignificant man coming from this insignificant country, because if there will be a Khalistan, it will be in a little area called Surrey, close to where my sister lives in Vancouver, because even in Vancouver, the Indian diaspora don't agree with this little spot called Surrey, where all these so-called Khalistanis live. So he should just rot where he is. We should prop up Quebec, and we should just ignore him. We should not waste any time, Rishabh. We should not raise our BP about him. We should feel sorry that his wife has divorced him.
I was just when I was enjoring raising my BP about it. You know, once in a while I should raise my BP. I know news not noise, but sometimes you should get irritated enough. You know,
I really hope they don't prop up Quebec. I really hope that's not the case. India, please, if you're listening, we've had enough of propping up of Quebec in Canada. As you may know, and people who know how the electoral process works in Canada, we usually, especially us out in the West, we watch as Quebec and Ontario pick the prime minister, pick who's going to be the leader of our country in every election before it even hits Manitoba, and then the rest of us realize that our votes weren't very effective. And this is why people have been calling for electoral reform for so long in our country. It's largely because of this. But of course, digging into Trudeau, calling him a little man, insignificant, as well as, making fun of the fact that his wife left him recently, which of course I covered on the channel, and I honestly believe that was just a ploy to get out of ethics violations. But hey, I'll leave that one with you guys. But listen, where do we stand with this? India is completely just had enough with Justin Trudeau. Canada has had enough of Justin Trudeau, but even the Liberal Party has had enough of Justin Trudeau. But where are we gonna be in the future? And we've got until 2025 until there's an election coming up, or the election that's been scheduled. Many rumors that there may be an election sooner. I really don't think Justin Trudeau wants to relinquish his power. He has taken over the Liberal Party. He's destroyed the brand of the Liberal Party in Canada and abroad now, as we're seeing. And I think the Liberal Party is really going to be suffering for decades and decades and decades to come because of the destruction that Justin Trudeau has brought to it. But let me know in the comment section down below if you know anything more about this Khalistani group than I do. Leave a comment about that and fill me in a little further. I know it's a serious, contentious thing, seeing that Jugmeet Singh is not even allowed in the country of India. So a little hope of him ever becoming prime minister, of course, is that famous moment where he said, "When I'm prime minister," and the entire parliament uproared in laughter. So I don't see that as a feasible thing. We all know that Pierre Poilievre is likely a shoe-in for the next prime minister of Canada, and we'll see where we end up on the world stage once that happens. Anyway, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.